Welcome back to Blue Collar Speed and Repair and what should be our final sheet metal video on our 59. If you've been following along, you know we did Patina match doors. Turned out really good. Replaced steps and floorboards. A couple pieces on the firewall. Got rid of all the major rust. This video, I want to see if we can do something about our cab corners. So our cab corners are pretty rough. It's a little difficult to see with the bed. It's not so much yet, well, the driver's side's worse, but not so much the outside, but around the back side of the cab. They need to be addressed. As far as the front of the bed, that little edge there, and the kind of the dog legs in the fenders. Apologize about the background noise. I got the door open because I got to do some stuff here. But anyway, as far as those two places on both sides, I'm not going to mess with. I think it adds character. This may be not a common thought among people watching or whatever. I like the look of it. I think it adds to. Remember, this thing is 67 years old. Been sitting in a field probably most of its life. I think it just kind of adds to a little bit of character. Cab corners, on the other hand, it doesn't matter what we spray on there, what we add to it, whatever. I think it's going to continue to rust because it's bad enough, and I can't get to the inside as easily. As well as there's kind of a pocket down in there that dirt and stuff just sits in. So cab corners I want to take care of. The rest of it I'm not too worried about. Yeah, we'll see how this works. I do have a set of inner and outer cab corners. I don't think we're going to do the entire thing. We'll just use the metal that we need to use rather than cutting out a giant section that doesn't need to be taken out. So we're going to start, get this bed off so we have room to work, get this thing up on the lift so we have it at least kind of eye level so we can see what's going on, and then cut, grind, weld, and more patina matching, I guess. got this thing back inside, up on the lift. Been kind of staring at it, coming up with a game plan. And I think I know what I want to do. So you can kind of see the passenger side here. Doesn't look too terrible from the outside, but obviously you come around to the back, it's got pretty big holes. Driver's side is quite a bit worse. It unfortunately wraps all the way around into this body line section here. So that side, I think we can get away with cutting a section out. This side, unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap all the way around, try to get into this section. This side's gonna be a little more work, a little more difficult. I'll grab the light. As far as the inner cab corner goes, again, passenger side not as bad, but does have some rust. And of course, driver's side a little bit worse. You can see what I'm talking about junk just kind of sitting down in the corners, into the cab corners. Like that's a piece of glass there. I don't know what that is. Looks like an old glove maybe. So, dirt and junk and sand and whatever gets down into these corners and they just rot out from the inside with moisture. Which is where you end up with all these problems, and all of GM's, well, all of makes have been like this for years. That's kind of the way it works out. They didn't think about this stuff during engineering, and here we are. So I think this side I'm going to cut up and across. I don't think I'm going to worry about this bubbling paint here too much. Backside of the cab with the bed against it, you're not really going to see. But I obviously want to get rid of this big rot, and then this we'll treat and we'll paint over and all that stuff anyway. But this side, again, we're going to have to go all the way around to the front. And I think I'm going to go all the way to the edge. So all the way across here and all the way around. And as far as the inside of the cab goes, or excuse me, inside cab corner, it kind of sits in here in a way. I'm not sure exactly how they line up. This is not something I normally do, but like this is that pocket that glove's sitting in currently. This would be the inner section that the step goes into, and then this actually comes down as part of the B-pillar frame. That's a totally separate piece. I don't think we're going to mess with any of this stuff. I think what we're going to do, this being the outside, well, this one's the passenger side, but let's look at driver's side. I'm all over the place, as per usual. I think we're going to cut essentially like this all the way across, and then on the inner one, we're gonna follow that same line. I think I just cut my finger open. Which side is this? Left one. Okay, that's the top. I don't know what's happening. All right, goes like that. I think when we cut that one, we're just gonna plunge cut and cut all the way through this one. This being this edge here, I believe we're going to cut straight up from there is what we're going to try to do. I know this doesn't make sense currently, but essentially what I'm talking about is let me see where I can put this. There we go. Essentially that is this line. So rather than getting into the step and all that stuff again, I think we'll cut straight up here and then across the back. At least on the driver's side. This side we might, no, we're probably gonna have to do that anyway. All right, I think we're gonna start with the driver's side. I know I'm wandering back and forth. Again, this is not work that I normally do. I know I keep saying it, sheet metal work, but body work type stuff is not my forte. I don't do a lot of this stuff, so we're learning together. I think I'm gonna grab some tape, get me a line, kind of kind of a straight reference point. And we're just going to start cutting and hacking and see where we end up. Okay, got us a bit of a reference line here. I'm going to cut the top of this tape line best I can. It's going to be a little tricky around this edge, like I said. I'm sure this is spot welded in, which we'll have to clean this up and try to find those and get those out. But for now, let's see if we can get the big section cut loose. That's going to put a whole bunch of grinder shavings in my freshly painted cap. That should help keep the bulk of it out anyway. That's about as far as we can go. Okay. All right, let's put it up, look at the underside. So from here, inside and outside are cut to there. The outside's cut all the way across. Remember I said I wanted to cut from this line here up. So I'm gonna cut this up and that across, kind of connect the dots. That should free up everything except for this section. So let me get that cut out and then we'll see if we can get this part out. Well, I think what I might try to do is cut this inside line, basically that angle, so we can get this whole section out of the way, and that'll only leave us this strip that we got to get out. That might be a little easier than trying to work around this piece here. The door and all that stuff in the way, it's a little difficult to kind of get in here and show, but we'll do our best. Now I gotta find my cutoff wheel again. Alright, I can't see anything with you guys right in the way. Oh, it's funny. I didn't even know that was in there. There's our glove. That's gross. All right. So that didn't really do us that much good because there's an inner lip here anyway. All right. We'll mess with this. It looks like there's only one, maybe two spot welds. That's good. Maybe I'll try the air hammer trick that I did before. That seemed to work pretty good. And we'll see about cutting in some new pieces. Okay, I got our little strip out. I actually barely touched it with the air hammer and it popped right off. just had one tiny little spot weld. So now we got to figure this out. I've got the old piece and the new piece, and of course this still has the inner partially attached, which even if this inner piece wasn't there, this still wouldn't like lay over this so we could get a crisp line. So I think what I'm going to do is line this up best I can and then just mark the new panel half an inch or so over. Cut that, and then we'll kind of line it up, and we'll probably have to cut through both the new panel and old panel at the same time, so that way we know they match together. I'm not skilled enough to cut this and then have it line up to that without having gaps and stuff like that. So let me get a marker. We'll rough cut this kind of where we want it, but a little high, and then we'll start test fitting. And then we're probably gonna have to go back and forth several times. I don't know. Again, not something I normally do. So we got a marker. If I roughly eyeball this, I think we'll just go inch or so past, or maybe more. I don't know how this is going to work out, but kind of give us our area to work with anyway. And actually our exhaust is right in the way. But we did end up higher than our existing material, which is what I wanted. Don't tell me I have to pull this exhaust off. You got to pull this exhaust off. And take this loose, see if I can get enough on it. If it'll hang down enough. I don't think it will. High on this one. Oh, too much. I think that's kind of the area we want it. Again, not a professional at this sort of thing, but trying to line up our angles here. I don't know why this lip is so much wider. I guess we should cut that back a little bit. If you look, we're, I don't know, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch over all the way around. The tricky part is this angle. I don't know how that's supposed to end up. Do we just set it level? I'm not real sure. If we go look at the other side, I guess. If you ignore this being bent down, I would say that should be level across there. So essentially right in that area. Not 100% sure though. So we're just going to put it on the way we want it. Obviously this line doesn't line up because it's pulled all the way around this lip. Hopefully this will line up when we get to actually welding it in. I'm going to pull this out, I think. I'm going to clean up this edge down a ways. I'm going to clean up this edge up a ways. And then we'll figure it out from there. All right, got the Panels cleaned up. Boss came out to help. Come around this side where you were before. You can see how we're, I don't know, half an inch or so over. I think what I'm going to try to do is cut higher, so we're going to end up cutting more original material out. But I'm concerned with trying to find this line and end up under it, and then we have a gap to fill. So I think we're going to cut the two panels together similar to what we did with the floors, but I'm going to try to cut at a bit of an angle. If you cut straight through, well, turn around. We have currently the two panels overlapping each other. If we try to cut straight through, like straight on, we're going to have an 1/8 inch gap, which is just the width of the cutoff wheel. It's just the way it is. So what I'm going to try to do, and this is going to be exaggerated, of course, but if we cut at an angle, that looks terrible, but the two pieces should kind of overlap each other a little bit, and there's no, unless I screw up terribly, there's no way to get a gap in there really. That's what I'm going to try. I've seen that online somewhere, some video a while back. I don't remember who, or I would shout them out, but it seemed to work pretty good. And I'm, again, no professional, but we're going to give it our best. So the very corner here, I don't really have a choice but to cut it straight in, so we're going to do that. And I think however this line lines up, as long as we keep these lines kind of close, this line is going to kind of dictate where the rest of this sits once we get going on this part. So for now, I am going to just put a clamp here, just to kind of hold it, keep it from flopping around. And yeah, the cutoff wheel.
On the table over there.
All right. You have our height where we want it?
I don't know. I should probably grab some safety glasses real quick.
You probably should.
I'm gonna hang out for a minute.
All right. Let's go. We're already getting at an angle. I don't want that.
Probably should have put on long sleeves for this. That is how we warranty a Leatherman. Of course. Try to go all the way around this part. Cut curve makes it a little more difficult. Nope, curve makes it difficult. I ended up lower than I anticipated there. But that's what welders are for. Ouch. That's a little warm. All right, this went nothing like I said it would. I've got a gap there, I've got a gap there. The rest of it looks pretty good. All right, I guess from here we start tacking into place. Corner doesn't fit very good. Body hammers put away.
Yep.
All right, get a couple tools out, get the welder out. Attempt to make this look better. You come around over here.
Yeah, I was trying to.
So trying to cut this corner and then again cutting at an angle. I've got a little bit of a gap here, nothing terrible. And then same thing, trying to get this corner, it kind of did the thing, you know. That's down there. But if anything, we're a little high on this. I'll take this part down. Not sure. I'm just not sure. Did we end up a little higher than I meant to go? You look, this piece is now overlapping by quite a bit, honestly.
Yeah. The body line at the bottom is just a little bit up.
Okay, watch yours. I was trying to line that up, but I think this kind of does one of those. They're saying I should have more of a gap than I'm supposed to,
Yeah, at the beginning.
or less of a gap.
Yeah.
I had less.
Yes. That one.
Let's try that. resistance. This is where it gets a little tricky trying to get this level figured out. I mean, could smear this whole thing with some body filler, but I'd rather not do that if we don't have to. Get a small screwdriver. Heat's still too high. All right, remember how I said I was cutting at an angle so it didn't have a gap? Yeah, that didn't work at all. Might be getting a bunch of body filler after all. This is why I don't like sheet metal. That's why I say I'm not a sheet metal guy. I think we need to swap this out to 110, which is too hot. Inside, when we did the floors and the steps and all that, it's all interior, it's all gonna be covered, so I didn't care that much. Out here, I'd rather it not be completely wavy. So we're gonna reset the welder real quick to 110 and try this again. All right, turn the welder down a little bit. It's a little better. Of course, this older metal, it's a little thinner. So, I guess we continue on. If I got to fill some gaps, I'll fill some gaps. If I got to put a little bit of body filler on it, I'll put a little body filler on it. It's not the end of the world. Big surprise, I kind of boxed it for me. Well, it's roughly in there. The good thing is the bed comes up to, well, right in this area. So as long as we can make this section look okay, this don't really matter that much. So I'm gonna spend the next bit putting a million tack welds in here. See if I can blow a whole bunch more holes in it. Hopefully I can get it to look all right. We will see. Well, it turned out okay. It's really difficult, like I said, to weld. Well, first of all, again, I don't do a lot of sheet metal work. I know I'm a broken record, but and I'm not a great welder either, I'll be honest. Newer metal to older metal, I kept blowing holes, but I got it pretty good. There are quite a few little low spots. Again, we're not going for
for perfect here, obviously. So I'm just going to smear a little body filler on this. We'll sand it down smooth and call it good enough. We're going to have to paint over it and brown and patina match it and all that stuff anyway. So it's not really the end of the world if it's not perfect. I think on the passenger side there's a dent up in here somewhere too. So whatever. If it's got a little slight wave to it, don't really care. Okay, it's pretty standard body filler. I think it's Evercoat brand. I'm not going to get too carried away. Again, if you're looking for tips and tricks on body filler, I'm probably not your guy, because I haven't done a whole lot of it. Smear it on, sand it down smooth. There's your tip. I think that's basically the gist of it. And then make sure to get it on your fingers instantly, because that's the way it works. Good thing about body filler is it dries pretty fast, so you don't have to sit around and wait, you know, like paint or whatever. Okay. I'm gonna sand most of this off anyway, so that's probably good. We'll clean this up, give that a couple minutes, sand it off. It's been 10 minutes or so. I kind of did this section. I didn't try too hard because, again, all this is going to be covered. The bed ends up like in this area. This area is the only part I really care about. 80 grit on a block just to knock the big stuff off. Again, we're not trying to go perfect here. I should have done something a little coarser than that even. That's the bulk of it. So from here, 180 on a VA. What happened there? Apparently it didn't stick very well. It's alright. Not really a sharp edge. But yeah, once that's painted, I think, primered and painted, we'll be alright. So from here we'll see if we can mock in and weld in the inner cap corner. We got some cleaning up to do. Probably at least wipe this off, I suppose. And yeah, do the inner one. And we got the other side to do, and then we got to match the paint again. Ready?
I'm ready to watch you.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat, man.
Okay. Inner cab corner is going to be pretty much the same thing. The good part is the weld doesn't matter as much because we're not going to smooth it over. This weld we're just going to hit with seam sealer from the underside. So if I can kind of roughly do what I did before, of course this isn't as easy.
I wonder if, so remember we cut this part here, which is here. I wonder if I go over a 1/4 inch or so, cut that back, and then just kind of gauge an area, cut plenty of meat off, and then we'll just use that. Just trying to sit this in here and get it lined up just isn't going to work, I don't think. So, we do it this way.
Do you want earmuffs?
Yeah, probably good idea. Suppose this fits in any way, shape, or form. Not sure how this is supposed to work exactly. I guess it's supposed to sit in that, but what happens here, I'm not real sure. Like these don't really meet up, especially if you do that. I guess you pull that over and clamp it down, I don't know. But then it doesn't really match here, and there's a big gap here. How's that supposed to work? Of course, I don't have a good reference to go off of because that's like this angle doesn't match that angle. So I don't understand how that's supposed to work. And of course, this lift arm is right in the way. Maybe this should have been locked into place first. At least tacked. I don't know, because like none of this really lines up. Now obviously these are all aftermarket stamped pieces. So who knows, but I suppose it really doesn't matter as long as it's in here. The trick will be can we get it in here? For instance, that lines up there. I don't know how that's, it's too big to match this edge. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's supposed to be a gap here or if this is bent. That was loud, sorry. So like, is this supposed to be more flat?
I don't know.
Because currently, it just doesn't seem to fit down in there like I feel like it should.
I wonder how the other two fit together since you haven't like modified them at all.
Well, they didn't really fit. The other ones didn't really fit when I had them out.
Well, maybe. I mean, it fits the same way, it looks like.
Yeah.
My guess is it's supposed to fit.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It doesn't really go into the spot, you know?
Yeah. So if you have it all the way forward, though, it has that body line, like...
Right, but look here.
Yeah.
I don't know that gap's supposed to be there. Maybe it is. Maybe that's for drainage. I don't know. But when you have a glove stuffed in it, it doesn't drain. I don't know.
There was a glove on each side, you know?
Yeah.
Didn't want it to be lonely.
I don't know. I think I'm just gonna kind of start cutting and tinkering and welding and grinding and see what I can make fit. I don't know what to do. So if you get in here close, so here, let me see this. So this edge that I cut off, I obviously cut more off of the original, so we can cut that back, no big deal. But it doesn't really fit into this edge very well. It doesn't fit this corner very well. It doesn't fit this curve very well. And then, I don't know if you can see this, but that line is the old inner cap corner, and this one comes all the way over. Now, obviously there's a gap, and it's gonna push over, but still not enough, I don't think. So I think what I'm gonna do is try my best to cut this piece here to match up, and then we'll start working on the top to match up. Maybe we'll clamp it across the bottom, I'm not sure. And we're just gonna make it fit as best we can, and then we'll go back after the fact. Remember, this outer piece was spot welded into the inner here. I'm sure there was a couple along in this area, and we're just gonna see if we can stuff it in there. Make sense? Ish.
You're gonna do some stuff and some things, and that's where it's gonna live.
Yeah. Okay. So that doesn't really match up. That doesn't really match up. I feel like that's bent out. Is part of our problem. All right, let me do some tweaking and some cutting and see if I can come up with something. So it's probably been 30 minutes of kind of screwing around with this thing. I think I got it to fit at least good enough. This section here that was supposed to fit into this section, I couldn't make fit. None of it wanted to line up. This kind of curve where it comes around here is too high. This should be down here. So I ended up having to cut this to get the panel to slide down far enough. Ultimately, I think I got it as close as I'm going to make it. Unfortunately, when I cut this section up top, I'm sure you can see it, there's a bit of a gap, and I got to do a little trimming here, which will bring that over a little bit, but I think this is what we're going to end up with. Realistically, it doesn't need to be as pretty as it is on the outside, because once I'm not even too concerned about getting it fully welded. This is all getting slathered with seam sealer anyway. So it should be watertight regardless. So I got a little trimming to do on this edge. We're gonna put some welds on it, seam sealer. I've also got to run a couple tack welds or a couple spot welds down the back, probably a couple across the bottom. And this side will be done, I think. Yeah, it's not fitting together as well as I thought. I mean, even those, well, let's go over here. I think we kind of showed this. But like this is the outer panel that we just installed a little bit ago. And then this is the inner one. And you can see here, like it's supposed to fit down in here, and it doesn't really line up. Nothing really wants to do, you know, these curves don't line up, these curves don't really line up. It doesn't really fit together that well. So we're doing it this way. So give me a few minutes, I'm gonna weld it, probably go ahead and seam seal it and all that good stuff, and we'll check it out when it's done. And we got it all in there. Went ahead and just seam sealed the heck out of it. Probably should have done this before we painted the bottom of the cab, but you know, oops. It went pretty good. It was a little bit of a pain trying to get that to fit in there. I am dirty, holy cow. Like I said, aftermarket parts just, they didn't seem to fit that well. These are from Auto Metal Direct. I've heard only good things, and I'm sure it's not their fault, it's just the way it is, right? Trying to build something to fit on a 67-year-old pickup, and I'm sure they're not all the same either, right? So that all went pretty good. Need to do the passenger side. I think it's going to be a little easier.
I haven't decided. I don't really want to go around the edge. That was kind of a pain, like we did on the other side. So I really might just come up and across. And I don't know if I'll go all the way across or if I'll just come down. Realistically, this whole bottom edge should probably be replaced since we're here. So I think we'll probably come across all the way, kick it down in this area somewhere. None of this stuff will line up. None of it will match. It'll piss me off and I'll end up taking all that stuff out anyway. So it's already late because that's the way my life works. So we're gonna go get some dinner because it's like, what, 7 o'clock, 7:30?
Almost 7:30.
Almost 7:30. Tomorrow's project. See you guys tomorrow. Good morning, new day. I set a goal. Well, it's not really even a goal. I have to work the next 2 days. And my next day off, I have something else going on. So I really need to get this done. Passenger side cab corner in, inner and outer, and painted and matched and all that. So I really got to lock in here. I think I've decided that I'm not going to go all the way around the front. I think I'm going to end up here somewhere, probably right in that area. And then across, all the way across the back, and we'll replace all this lower section. Up here, don't really worry about that too much. I'll spray that, hose that down with the rust converter stuff before we paint it. That's no worse than a lot of the other stuff that's already on here. I mean, there's quite a bit of surface rust kind of everywhere and bubbling. So I think it'll be a little easier. My big concern is whether or not this will match up with the new piece. The rest of it, of course, we'll weld it and grind it and put a little body filler over it or whatever. As long as this section kind of matches up, that's all that really matters. I don't know. Hopefully it'll match up close enough, and we can get it welded and even, again, a little body filler or whatever to get it looking smoothish. So I'm going to put my head down and just get after it. I got a lot of cutting and grinding and all that stuff to do. All that stuff takes forever. And yeah, check back with you if I have any updates. Well, it was kind of exactly what I was afraid of. Where'd my light go? This doesn't really line up. Move that. This kind of flat spot here, I feel like is wider on the original piece. So, I think I'm going to kind of cut and weld, or at least tack weld all the way up to it. And then we might have to try to kind of reshape it a little bit. It might just be that this is kind of bent and folded over. Sorry about the camera. It might be that this is just kind of bent and folded over. Could potentially get the rest of this to line up, I think. And then just have to do some funkiness on the bottom, which nobody will ever see anyway. So, we'll continue on. So that went exactly like I expected. Pro tip, don't be lazy like me. We had some bubbling up in here. I should have just cut the corner, the entire corner out. Bubbling up in here made the metal kind of thin. I ended up just chasing holes. I got it all filled and all that stuff, but it was a total pain. Same with this line, like in this section. It was a bit of a pain to get it welded together. We did end up getting it, but I was trying to cut corners and not have to go around this front edge, which was a little bit of a pain, and ended up making more work anyway. Not that big of a deal. It is what it is. Like I said, we're not doing a show truck at all. Back here, I didn't worry about feathering edges too much because, again, bed's going to be kind of in this area. You're not actually going to see this. I was more concerned with up here. And it's still got some texture and whatnot, but again, the whole thing's, you know, not perfect. So from here, I think I'm going to tape a few things off. Put several light coats of primer on both sides. The same rusty metal primer. Got this at Home Depot. It's nothing special, but it does match our brown. Several light coats, kind of get it thick on there if I can, as well as it's going to soak into that body filler. And then I'll probably go grab some lunch real quick. Spray it with blue, kind of do some patina matching, and we'll be prepped for, well, we'll be ready to do clear coat. That'll be all the sheet metal work done. I got impatient. I was trying to get coverage on our body filler before I went inside and didn't let it dry off enough and got some runs. The other side looks okay. This side's pretty heavy, but that's all right. I'm going to let this dry really good, go back and sand it. I plan on leaving the blue up here anyway, so as long as we sand that smooth, we can do blue down. I just want to do some brown poking through down here, kind of like we did on the rockers, and kind of match our door a little bit. So if this is smooth enough and covered and we can just put some blue over it, it'll be all right. You ever make more work for yourself? Also forgot to mention, while I was letting the body filler dry, I started on our inner cab corner. So this would go inside in this area. I don't know how, but I completely screwed it up. Let me put this where it makes sense here. So I cut this side, and when I went to trim it, now it's too short. This corner back here seems to line up, but it's too short here. You ever go cut a piece of wood and it's a ½ inch too long, and then you cut a ½ inch off of it and then it's 3 inches too short? It's exactly what happened. So, not a big deal. It's the inner cab corner. I'll probably tack this in place, put some filler pieces in, weld it in. It's all gonna get slathered with seam sealer anyway, so not that big of a deal. I'll do that off camera later. It's not that big of a deal. I'm gonna let this dry, sand over it, hit it with some blue, and yeah, let's see if we can get it to match the doors. I'm back. Lunch has been had, some sanding's been done. I just went over this with a kind of half-worn 180 on our little DA. Took that ridge off where the run was. It's still kind of on the backside again. The backside I don't care about as much. You won't see it. I do have a couple little bumps here. Again, not a big deal. None of this is perfect, right? So 180, and then again I went over the whole thing after that with like a 320, just to make sure it was all semi-smooth. So from here I'm gonna grab our blue paint, mix some of that up. We're gonna dust. I did dust over some more primer to even it out, forgot to mention. Dust all this with blue, and I think the bottom, only this section is all we're going to worry about trying to bring some brown out, kind of like it is here. I do have a sharp line here. I got to sand that off, a little bit of overspray, that kind of stuff. I think also, the more I look at these doors, especially the driver's side, I'm not real happy with the way the brown came out on the top. It's too much brown. I want it more random and kind of like it was wearing through like this is. Same with here, went a little high. I think I'm gonna dust some blue across this area, re-sand it to bring brown back out, but try to keep our line a little lower, if that makes sense. And then again, on the top, I'm gonna dust across that, re-sand so it looks a little more blotchy, a little more random, so it's not so sharp. This one's not as bad. The driver's side, I kind of botched completely when I was trying to do the rust trick. It's just too much brown. I'm not happy with it. So I'm gonna, again, a little bit of blue over the top, sand it back, try to make it look a little more like this. The bottom of the door on this side is not too bad. I'm pretty happy with it. Back here as well. It's just, like I said, both tops of the doors, simulating like where you would be hanging your arm out or whatever and you'd get somewhere. And then the front on this side's a little higher than I'd like. So a couple little final touch-ups for that. And then we'll try to match in the rear of the cab corners, and this thing will be ready for clear coat, or at least the painting part will be. All right, I think we're ready to go. Got our blue paint mixed up. I do have this little smaller gun. It's only got a 1.0 tip. I'm trying to minimize our overspray as much as possible. Light coats, I'm not going to go too crazy. A lot of it's going to be sanded back off anyway, especially where we're touching up on the doors. Again, back here, I'm not overly concerned about it. It's going to be covered from here down or so. We're going to be doing a bunch of sanding and trying to bring brown back out anyway. So not too heavy, just trying to get some color on it. Probably keep this back here out of the way if I can. It'll be interesting to see how this color matches up to our other paint. It looks pretty good on the doors, but it's a separate panel. This has to actually blend in. Something like that. Do it on the cab corner real quick, and then we'll touch up the doors. It's been a little while since I got our second coat on. It should be dry enough to move on. So far, color is pretty good. It does have a little bit of shine to it. There is some imperfections. You can see a little bit of sanding marks there. There's a little bit of a, I guess, an air pocket in the body filler. That's all right. Remember, this thing's 67 years old. It's going to have imperfections. So start with taking the sheen off. I'm just going to use a red Scotch-Brite. Just kind of go over this thing just to dull it down a little bit. And already, I know the light's kind of annoying, but I can't do this in a way that it doesn't have a little bit of glare. It's blending extremely well. We only painted to about here, and you can kind of see it, but again, we're not going for perfection here. Let me get the tripod so I got my hands free. Again, I'm not going to concern myself with the back too much. I will Scotch-Brite it, but that's as far as we're gonna go. I'm only concerned with the cab corner where we'll actually see it. It's amazing how long this takes. You know, I said at the beginning of this video, I was kind of in a hurry because I got other plans coming up. But like cutting to size and fitting and all that stuff takes time. Welding a million little spot welds takes forever. Grinding it takes time, and then sitting around waiting for paint dry. Our day is almost over, but we're almost finished, so that's okay. I've already got some brown popping out, which is fine. You want that. Again, I think we're going to aim for bringing brown out just down here. We've got to add a little bit more back on our thing, rocker panel. Brain no work. All right. Get this door open. That's a good thing about kind of patina matching. You don't have to be too critical of it. You know, we got, like I said, a couple little bubbles and a little high spot there, some imperfections in the work we did. It really doesn't matter, because we want to make it look old and kind of rough, right? So right here, I know there's shadow from the door. This side's a little bit of overspray from the brown. Trying to go through the blue and kind of add more to that. Sticking to just the Scotch-Brite on this sharp angles because it's easy to go through kind of quickly. I know the shadows and stuff are terrible, I'm sorry, but is the way it is. You see some of that brown popping out there. Don't want to get too carried away though. Get through to bare metal in a heartbeat. Trying to do it just kind of random so it looks worn. And I'm no expert at this, obviously. Just kind of doing what feels right. There's something on that area. Looks pretty good. It did get a little bit of bare metal there, but there's bare metal on other parts of the truck too. That's all right. All right, grab my sander, wherever the heck I put it. I'm gonna use some 320. See if I can feather this a little more. Bring out a little bit of brown kind of down low. Nothing crazy. Probably need to tone that down. I want you to take note how there's already kind of some brown poking through here. Again, we only painted up to here. I want to add to that Remember those high spots. Gotta stay away from those. I don't want to get down too low. Oh, maybe something like that. Remember, the bed will cover to here. We can actually add a little back here if we want, just so it kind of blends. And there's a couple spots I'm touching bare, so probably don't want to go any farther than that, but that looks well worn. And if you look, again, our paint line was right in this area. Try to block this light a little better. It makes it too dark if I don't have some light, but paint line was here. You can see how it's kind of blotchy brown. There's some blotchy brown poking through in this area. I know it's hard to see because of the glare, but hopefully that shows up on the camera. It's hard to say, but yeah, I think less is more. I think I'm going to stop there. Leave it just kind of worn. I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll get it down, move it forward so we can actually kind of see it, stand back and look at it. And we still got to do tops of the doors too. Forgot about that. I pushed it outside so we can kind of get a better view in the more natural light. Of course it's overcast, but I think that looks pretty dang good. Got a little carried away on the upper part. Didn't quite mean to go that far, but it looks okay. Just this blue line here looks a little funky because we went through the layers a little differently. I did spritz a little brown into here to get rid of that one bare metal spot, but cab corners look fantastic. It looks a whole lot better than what it did before. My hand's all in the way, sorry. The paint match is like phenomenal. I can't believe it matches so good, and it's way better than what we actually had matched. The paint store actually mixed paint for us, and it was the wrong color completely. This is the factory color just mixed with some white. If you didn't watch our last Patina video, check that one out when we actually did the doors. If you move into the fenders, all this white scaly stuff will come off. This was all, I mean, you can see there's still some on the back of the cab there. A lot on the back. That'll all have to be scotch brighted and cleaned off and all that, so it doesn't compare to the fender quite right, but the overall look I am extremely happy with. She's ready to clean the shop because it's disgusting. Driver's side, more of the same. I didn't show this side as much, at least the finished product. The upper kind of wear area, I stayed away from our line that we kind of overdid last time. Actually added just a little bit of bare metal, which is fine. There's little bits and pieces of bare metal all over the place, so that looks fine. I tried to sand down and add a little wear like inside the handle and went through multiple layers, so it looks really weird. It looks like an eyeball, but I got a little more brown poking through on the driver's side. I feel like the driver's side would have a little more wear anyway. So overall, that looks a whole lot better than this thing does. This is the driver's side. So from that to that is a huge difference. Again, ignore the back. That'll be covered by the bed, but yeah, I'm extremely happy with the way this turned out. This door still needs to be adjusted. We just kind of stuck it on there. Honestly, the doors might come off one more time for clear coat, which will be in the next video. I do believe that's the plan anyway. This thing is coming together. I am so excited, and I'm so happy for all the kind comments and you guys sticking around and and watching. I appreciate it. Those of you that haven't, please like and subscribe to the videos. Notification bell, all that stuff. It's free, doesn't cost you nothing. There's glare, I'm sorry. There's noise, there's background noise. She's sweeping, being obnoxious as usual. Yeah, leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. I read all your comments. I respond as best I can. And I think we're doing clear coat in the next video. I'm excited. I've got a little bit of a surprise for you guys, which I'm as excited about that as I am the clear coat, although I am really wanting to see what this looks like cleaned up and shiny. So again, subscribe if you haven't already, and I look extra pasty because of the sun.
Thanks for hanging out.
You wanna say thanks for hanging out instead of just laughing at me?
I said thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you guys very much. We will see you guys next time.